Disclaimer: this content is only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. I never thought I'd be in this situation. I never imagined that the man I trusted, the man I built a life with, would push me into something that made my heart race, not with excitement, but with pure uncertainty. Marriage is supposed to be about love, respect, and understanding. But what happens when the person you love the most asks you to do something you never saw coming? It all started as an ordinary evening. The soft hum of the TV in the background, the scent of fresh coffee filling our cozy living room, just another quiet night at home. My husband, Daniel, sat across from me, his expression unreadable. I could tell he had something on his mind, something he was hesitant to say. He kept glancing at me, as if trying to find the right words. And then, finally, he spoke. What he said next changed everything. At first, I thought he was joking. I even let out a small laugh, waiting for him to crack a smile, to tell me it was just some silly idea. But he didn't. His face remained serious, his eyes locked onto mine. My stomach twisted. This wasn't a joke. This was real. And he was waiting for my answer. I felt my hands go cold. My heart pounded so loudly I was sure he could hear it. I wanted to ask him why would he even think this was okay? Did he not know me at all? Or worse, did he know me too well? I swallowed hard, forcing myself to keep my voice steady. You really want me to do this? I asked, hoping, praying that he would reconsider. But the look in his eyes told me he wouldn't. At that moment, I realized our relationship was about to change forever. No matter what I decided, things would never go back to the way they were. What would you do if you were in my shoes? Would you go along with it? Or would you stand your ground, even if it meant risking everything? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like button if you want to hear what happened next. Trust me, you won't believe how this story unfolds. I could feel the weight of his words pressing down on me, heavy and suffocating. My mind raced, trying to make sense of everything. How did we get here? How did the man I married, the man who once promised to protect me, now expect me to do something that made my chest tighten with unease? Daniel was always the strong, confident type, the kind of man who made decisions without hesitation. It was one of the things I loved about him. He made me feel safe, like no matter what happened, he had everything under control. But now, as he sat there waiting for my answer, I saw something different in his eyes. Was it desperation? Fear? Or something else entirely? I glanced away, staring at the coffee table between us, as if it held the answer I was searching for. My mind kept going back to the beginning, to when we first met, when everything felt so simple. Back then, Daniel was charming, thoughtful, the kind of person who made life feel effortless. We would stay up late talking about our dreams, our future, the life we were going to build together. But somewhere along the way, things changed. It wasn't sudden, not a dramatic shift overnight. It was small things at first, the way his voice carried a little more edge when he spoke to me, the way he started keeping secrets, the way his laughter, once warm and familiar, became less frequent. I told myself it was just stress, that every relationship had ups and downs. But deep down, I knew something was different. I just never thought it would lead to this moment. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to meet his gaze again. Daniel, this isn't like you, I said carefully, trying to understand. Why are you asking me to do this? For a moment, he said nothing. Then, he leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. Because I need you, he said, his voice low but firm. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. His words sent a shiver down my spine. I wanted to believe him, I wanted to trust that he had a good reason. But something about this felt off. And the worst part? A small voice in the back of my mind whispered that if I said no, everything we had built together could come crashing down. What would you do if you were in my place? Would you take the risk? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to stay tuned, because things are about to take a turn you won't see coming. Daniel's words echoed in my mind. Because I need you. I studied his face, searching for something, anything, that would make this make sense. But all I saw was a man I barely recognized. My husband, the man I had loved and trusted for years, was asking me to step into something I didn't fully understand. And the worst part? He wasn't giving me a choice. I swallowed hard, my pulse racing. Daniel, please, just tell me everything. I can't say yes to something when I don't even know what I'm walking into. His jaw tightened. For a moment, I thought he would finally tell me the truth. But instead, he let out a slow breath and shook his head. I just need you to trust me. Trust. The word stung. I wanted to trust him. I had always trusted him. Through the late nights at work, the times he seemed distant, the moments I felt something shifting between us, I had convinced myself that whatever was happening, we'd get through it together. But now I wasn't sure. I stood up, wrapping my arms around myself as if that could shield me from the weight of this conversation. Daniel, if you love me, you'll be honest with me. Why can't you just tell me what's really going on? His eyes darkened. Because it's not that simple. I exhaled sharply, frustration creeping into my voice. Then make it simple. Silence. And then, something changed in his expression. For the first time, I saw it, the flicker of doubt, of hesitation. He was struggling, too. Whatever this was, it wasn't just about me. It was about us. But before I could push him further, a sharp knock at the door made me jump. Daniel's head snapped toward the sound, his entire body going rigid. My stomach twisted. Whoever was on the other side of that door. I had a feeling they weren't just here for a friendly visit. Daniel turned to me, his voice low and urgent. Don't say anything. Let me handle this. And just like that, my fear turned into something else. Suspicion. Who was at the door? What was Daniel hiding? And most importantly, was I about to find out the truth, whether I was ready or not? What do you think Daniel is keeping from me? Drop your predictions in the comments. I have a feeling things are only going to get more complicated from here. The knock came again, louder this time. My breath caught in my throat as Daniel moved toward the door. His entire posture changed, his shoulders squared, his jaw clenched, and for the first time, I saw something in his eyes that scared me. Not anger. Not fear. Something colder. I wanted to ask him who it was, but the look he gave me stopped me before I could. He didn't need to say it, I already knew. Whoever was on the other side of that door wasn't a stranger. And whatever this was, it had been coming for a long time. I took a step back, pressing my back against the wall as Daniel reached for the doorknob. The room felt smaller, like the walls were closing in. I could hear my own heartbeat, loud and uneven. Daniel hesitated for just a second before opening the door. The moment I saw the man standing outside, I knew. I didn't know his name, but I had seen him before. Once, in passing, when I picked Daniel up from work late at night. Another time, sitting alone in a coffee shop, his eyes fixed on Daniel from across the room. I had brushed it off back then, telling myself I was imagining things. That Daniel would have told me if something was wrong. But now, standing in my doorway, this man wasn't just a shadow in the background anymore. He was real. And he was here for a reason. Daniel, the man said, his voice calm but firm. It's time. Daniel didn't react right away. His hand tightened on the doorknob, his knuckles going white. I told you I needed more time. More time for what? The man's gaze flickered to me. I felt my stomach drop. He was studying me, sizing me up, like I was a part of whatever deal had just come crashing into my home. Daniel noticed and stepped in front of me. Leave her out of this. A tense silence stretched between them. And then the man smiled. She's already in it. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Because in that moment, I realized something terrible. This wasn't just about Daniel. This was about me. What do you think Daniel is hiding? And why is this stranger so sure I'm already involved? Let me know your theories in the comments, because the truth is about to come out, and trust me, you won't see it coming. Daniel's entire body tensed at the man's words. I could feel the shift in the air, thick with something unspoken. My mind raced, trying to make sense of what was happening. How could I be involved in something I didn't even understand? I swallowed hard, forcing myself to stay calm. What do you mean I'm already in it? My voice was steady, but inside, I was anything but. The man looked at me again, this time with something almost like amusement. He didn't tell you? His gaze flickered back to Daniel. Wow. I thought you two shared everything. Daniel's hand clenched into a fist at his side. Not here. Not now. But it was too late. My heart was already hammering, my brain filling in the worst possible scenarios. There was something bigger happening, something Daniel had been keeping from me. And I wasn't sure if I was ready to hear it. The man tilted his head, studying me like he was deciding how much to say. Then, as if coming to a decision, he stepped inside, completely ignoring the fact that he hadn't been invited. I instinctively moved back, my pulse spiking. Daniel, I said slowly, my voice barely above a whisper. Who is he? Daniel exhaled, his jaw tightening. His name is Marcus. Marcus smiled. See? That wasn't so hard. Daniel ignored him. His eyes stayed on me, filled with something that looked almost like regret. I was going to tell you, I swear. Tell me what? My voice was sharper now. I was done waiting for answers. Marcus let out a low chuckle. She really doesn't know anything, does she? He turned back to Daniel. You should have told her. She deserves to know exactly what kind of life she's been living. Something inside me snapped. Somebody tell me, I demanded. What is going on? Marcus didn't hesitate. Your husband made a deal. And now, time's up. My breath hitched. A deal? With who? For what? Daniel stepped in front of me protectively. I said I just needed more time. Marcus sighed, shaking his head. You don't get to decide that anymore. Then his eyes flicked to me again, and a chill ran down my spine. And neither does she. A sinking feeling settled in my stomach. Whatever Daniel had done, whatever this deal was, it wasn't just his problem anymore. It was ours. I turned to Daniel, my voice barely above a whisper. What did you do? He didn't answer right away. His shoulders dropped, his entire body looking weighed down by something I couldn't see. And then he finally said it. I did it for you. The words knocked the breath from my lungs. For me. Marcus grinned, clearly enjoying the moment. And that, sweetheart, is exactly why you're not walking away from this. I felt my legs weaken, my mind spiraling with all the things that could mean. What had Daniel gotten us into? And worse, was there a way out? If you were in my shoes, what would you do? Let me know in the comments, because right now, I have no idea how this ends. Daniel's words echoed in my mind. I did it for you. My pulse pounded in my ears. My body felt frozen, trapped between fear and confusion. I wanted to scream at him, to demand answers, but Marcus was watching us like a predator enjoying the moment before the kill. I forced myself to breathe. What does that mean, Daniel? What did you do for me? His hands curled into fists, his face tight with something I couldn't quite place, guilt, desperation, maybe both. He hesitated just long enough for Marcus to step in. Oh, she really doesn't know, Marcus said, shaking his head with amusement. This is rich. Then, turning to me, he added, your loving husband made a trade. And guess what? The time's come to pay up. A cold chill ran down my spine. A trade. Daniel finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. It was the only way to keep you safe. Safe. That one word made everything worse. What had been threatening me? What had Daniel done to protect me? My mind raced through possibilities, each one more terrifying than the last. I turned back to Marcus. A trade for what? Marcus smirked. For who, actually? Everything inside me went still. Daniel's head dropped slightly, as if he couldn't bear to look at me. It was supposed to be different. I thought I could fix it before Marcus cut him off. You thought wrong. The realization hit me like a punch to the stomach. Daniel had made some kind of deal, and I was part of the price. No, I shook my head, stepping back. This doesn't make sense. Daniel would never, wouldn't I? Daniel's voice was raw. You don't know what I had to do, what I was up against. I didn't have a choice. Marcus let out a low laugh. Oh, he had a choice. He just made the wrong one. I felt sick. The man I trusted more than anyone had been hiding something so huge, something that put me at risk, and I hadn't seen it coming. But then, a thought struck me. Marcus kept talking like the deal was final, like I had no say in it. But I wasn't just going to accept this. I straightened, ignoring the fear twisting in my stomach. What if I refuse? Marcus raised an eyebrow. Oh, you can refuse. But that just means Daniel pays the price instead. I turned to Daniel, but I already knew what he would say. He would never let that happen. A heavy silence filled the room. This was it. The moment of no return. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get worse, Marcus pulled out his phone. I was hoping you'd put up a fight, he said, pressing a button. A video started playing. My own voice came through the speaker. A recording. And in that instant, I realized something horrifying. This wasn't just about Daniel's deal. I had been part of this all along, and I never even knew. What do you think was in the video? Drop your theories in the comments, because trust me, this story isn't over yet. Had I said something without realizing? Had someone manipulated my words? But then I heard it, just a few sentences, clipped together, making it sound as though I had agreed to something I never would have. This isn't real, I whispered. You edited this. Marcus shrugged. Doesn't matter, does it? The people who need to you've already lost. He stepped back toward the door, adjusting his jacket. I just wanted to see the look on your face when you realized it. My stomach twisted. So what now? He paused, considering. Now. His smirk deepened. Now you live with the fact that you were never in control. And then he left. Just like that. Daniel exhaled, running a hand through his hair. We need to fix this. But the truth settled in my chest like a weight. There wasn't a way to fix this. Not completely. Marcus had played his game, and whether we liked it or not, we had already lost something. Our trust, our peace, maybe even our future. I turned to Daniel, searching his face for something solid, something real. Did you really do it for me? His eyes softened. I'd do it again if it meant keeping you safe. I wasn't sure whether that scared me more, or made me love him even more. What do you think? Was Daniel right to keep his secret, or did he make everything worse? Let me know in the comments, and if you want to see what happens next, don't forget to like and subscribe. Because something tells me, this story isn't over yet.